Hi everyone, welcome back to another tutorial. Today we're going to go over some beauty retouching. Firstly, let me start by saying sorry, I haven't done a video in a couple of weeks. I've been really flat out, so I'm sorry about that, guys. But look, what we've got today is a pretty highly requested tutorial. We're going to go over some beauty retouching. As you can see at the moment, I'm in Lightroom, but we're going to be transferring over into Photoshop because 99.9% of the retouching and the final work will be done in this program, solely because Lightroom is more or less a quick application to go through a lot of images. It's not designed to do really in-depth work. That's what Photoshop is for, but Lightroom's more or less for sorting through hundreds and thousands of images. So, alright, what we've got in front of me is a photograph of a girl, clearly. It was shot in a studio with a 85mm prime lens at 1.8, 2/50th of a second shutter speed and ISO 100. Now, what you're probably thinking is, okay, if you've ever shot in a studio, most of you would be aware that f9, 7.1, 8, 9, 10, 11, they're usually your apertures. Sole reason for that is to make sure everything's in focus. Now, I've gone the opposite way. I mean, I've been shooting in a studio solidly for the last month or two, but I got over f8, 9, and 10. I was getting sick of everything being in focus. Now, reason for that is I wanted to go for a different look. But shooting at 1.8, that's really not a common thing in studios from what I have seen. A lot of people will tell you that f9, f10 is where you're meant to be shooting at. But the thing that I found out straight away is studio strobes are very powerful when you've got 300 watt seconds or 600 or thousands or 2000 watt second lights. They are very powerful. They are a lot more powerful than a normal speed light. Hence them being a studio light. You can see the quality of light is different as well. Now, to be able to shoot at 1.8, firstly, that's a very wide open and that's a very fast aperture to be shooting at. What I had to do was drop down the power of the lights immensely. I had to go from full power right down to the lowest possible power. I had to go to my lowest ISO setting and also my fastest shutter speed. Now, theoretically, shutter speed in a studio doesn't make a difference. I just did it to see if it would help me at all. It made a slight difference, but not dramatic. Compared to shooting at 100th of a second, I was shooting at 2/50th of a second. But yeah, as I was saying, because I was shooting at 1.8, I really had to drop down the power of the lights, move them back, because they're they're a lot more powerful than a normal speed light. But as you can see, it's given me a completely different look. Now, these kind of shots don't usually come out. These shots aren't usually like this in studios because f9, f10, everything's going to be in focus. But what you can see is when I zoom right in, I'm like 3:1 here, so this is really right in. My focus is right on the eye ear. Let's go out just a touch. Let's go to 1:1. The focus is right on this right on this eye here and drifting across to this eye here. Now, there are small portions of this area of this face that have blown out of focus. That's going to cause not so much a problem, but it's going to be a little bit harder in retouching because usually you like to retouch on a perfectly in focus face. I've also got a little bit of, narrow lighting or Rembrandt lighting falling off the face here, whatever you want to call it. But what I do like is that it's helped me a little bit with the skin softening, and also the hair is blown out. And because I'm shooting at 1.8 with an 85mm lens, that's a really good lens. I absolutely love it. The bokeh on the necklace and the jewelry is really cool. You can see the bokeh right across here. It's given a really cool effect. Now, this is directly straight out of the camera. Like, there hasn't been adjustments made to this. And as I said, focus is up here, focus is here, and it's falling off to the left over here. Anyway, look, what we'll do is we'll jump over into Photoshop. I just wanted to preview it in Lightroom. So Command-E or Control-E on Windows will take you straight over into Photoshop. Now, I'm using CS5, Command-0 or Control-0 to bring it to the full screen size. All right. Now, before I get completely into it, let's just quickly say this is my fast method of doing simple retouching. This isn't going to be a hugely in-depth video, but like anything in photography, there's 1,000 different ways that you can do things. I mean, it really doesn't matter how you want to do it as long as it works for you and as long as it works for the client. I'll go over a couple of basic elements that work for me. definitely use them if you haven't seen them before, or if you've seen them before, keep going at them, because as I said, there's 1,000 different ways to do this. Beauty retouching is probably, I'd say, one of the most implemented actions in Photoshop. Like, everybody really does use Photoshop to do beauty retouching because it does an amazing job. Again, to keep this video short, I'll go over a really basic one. I will do an in-depth one later on down the track. And this is, I guess this is a bit of a difficult image to start with, but I'll take a photograph later on down the track where it's going to be perfect for some in-depth stuff. Anyway, let's get started. So firstly, what I'm going to do is layers panel right here. Everybody watch. Command J or Control J on Windows to duplicate the layer. Never ever work on the background. Always duplicate the layer. Now what we're going to do is we're going to zoom right in. The majority of retouching is about the finer details. Now you really want to be in close to make sure that you're doing the right thing. You can make the window a little bit bigger if you want. Just pull it out like that. That gives you a little bit more space to breathe and a little bit more room to roll around. Hold the space bar down to give you the hand. That means you can drag and move around the image. That gives you a really quick way to be able to transfer where your image is at. Alright, so let's start off. Me, again, personally, I start off with blemishes and doing a little bit of healing on the skin. Nobody's perfect. When I'm shooting with clients in studios, I tend to have a little bit of a saying, which is, well, not so much a saying, but more of a little bit of a speech saying, guys, everybody in a magazine is retouched. There is a small percentage, unless it's like paparazzi crap, there is a small percentage of models or anybody that gets released images that haven't been retouched, because there's paid retouchers out there that do every single image. Big magazines like Dolly and things like that, those models have had shoots with thousands of images taken. One's been selected. It's had 12, 13, 14, 15 hours of work done to the image to make sure every single imperfection is perfected. So always keep that in mind. But one thing that I do like to say, sorry I'm carrying on a bit, but you guys need to retouch if you want to stand out these days. I mean, the cameras are advanced, but they're not as advanced. The cameras don't have Photoshop built into them. It's just not possible at this stage. But you need to retouch if you need your images to stand out compared to the rest of the photographers and retouchers and designers and everything out there. You have to do it. I mean, get as much as you can right in the camera and then progress more in post-production. And that's what these tutorials are about. You really need to understand that. There's a lot of people that don't retouch, and I understand where they're coming from, but think from the client's point of view. Think of a photograph of them that hasn't been retouched and a photograph that has. So yeah, anyway, look, let's get started. Okay, firstly, let's go over to the spot healing brush. That's what I've got right now. I like to work with a little bit of hardness. I'd say probably about 15%. This is basically the feathering of the brush. Start off at 100 pickles. Let's start off with 100 pixels. Let's undo that. Let's use the bracket key, which is next to the P, to make the image, the brush a little bit smaller. And let's start off. All I have to do is just dab and kind of drag around this area. And the spot healing brush. Sorry, I can't talk today for some reason. The spot healing brush has advanced a lot in Photoshop CS4 and 5. It used to be a little bit destructive with pixels, but it's doing a really good job these days on recreating and keeping the detail with all the pixels. It's doing an amazing job. So under the eyes, there's a little bit here. Let's just brush along here. Let's go up a little bit. We've got a little bit of a mark there. Let's touch that up. Let's go over here. And this is why you can see that the spot healing brush is a really good thing to start off with. Clone tool does a good job as well, but you know, spot healing brush has probably become one of my new favorites, just because it samples pixels very well. Let's go down here. Let's go down here. Let's go down here. Let's go down here. What have we got? What have we got? Again, because the focus fall off is shooting at 1.8, it's done quite a good job at smoothing out, if that's even a word, making the skin smoother. So there's not a ridiculous amount that I have to do. Also, the makeup artist did an amazing job on the skin. It is pretty much near perfect. So there's not so much that needs to be done. Just look around for little imperfections and see if you can correct them. There's a little bit of a thing there. Let's get a little bit smaller. Touch that up a bit. As I said, this image has not been shot or is not ready for a massive amount of retouching to be done to it, because it's the makeup artist has done such a good job. If they do a crappy job, then you're in for a lot of work. Anyway, that's not too bad. It's really a small amount of work that we have done, but I'll show you a couple more tricks later on that's really going to make this image pop. A little bit of one there. Really minor things, guys, honestly. Let's go down a little bit. Some along there that I don't like. Spot healing, as I said, just grab pixels and resamples them, and it also keeps the detail quite well, depending on how hard your brush is and things like that. So yeah, most of the work was done under this eye here. There's actually probably a little bit more that we can do once you zoom out. Keep on zooming out and zooming in, just so you can kind of give yourself a bit of room to breathe. Let's see what. That might be too much. Yeah, it's probably a bit too much. Let's go a little bit more. It's just softening the pixels just a touch. When you zoom out, it does look a lot better. Anyway, yeah. Look, quick thing on and off. Yeah, you can see what it's done. It has fixed out things. So that's the original layer underneath it, where it's got a little bit of a spot up there and some of the work under the eyes. Yeah, that's it. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge that layer down. So Command E is going to merge it into the background. Now that's basically just brought those two layers together and turned them back into one. Duplicate the layer again, Command J. What I'm going to do now is a very popular thing when it comes down to retouching. That's Liquify. Liquify can turn a anorexic girl into a well-built girl, or a really overweight girl completely skinny. You'll see exactly what it does. It does a lot of work. Sometimes some people's eyes, or actually in all honesty, the majority of people's eyes are never 100% the exact same size on left and right, and sometimes depending the way that you photograph it, it's going to adjust it as well. So look, let's give you a quick understanding of Liquify. Let's grab a fairly big brush. Sorry guys, I can't talk today. Brush. Let's go 211. What I can do is I can adjust these pixels, as I can just fix these eyes up. I can do things like that. I can bring them up just a tiny bit, and what it's doing is the brush density that you've selected is adjusting the pixels and dragging them, and it's not a very destructive tool. It actually does a really good job. Now what you got to try and aim for is you don't want to get the eye looking, you know, like a freaking alien or something like that. You know, just want to do a little bit of work to it, just kind of reforming it so it's looking a little bit more natural, because this eye here looks a little bit odd compared to this one. Now what I'd probably do is I'd probably make it a little bit smaller. I'll leave that up there, make it a little bit smaller, bring it down. And again, I'm going to do more work on the eyes for sure. That's this one like that. Let's see if I've done a decent job. I may have messed it up more than fixed it. Oh no, you know what? No, that does look better. Look, that's the original there. You see how her eye just looks a little bit strange? All I've done is I've kind of pulled it back in like that, so it looks a little bit better. I would do more work to this eye. Again, as I was saying, you'd go in, you'd get them looking more or less the same. Sometimes you can select this eye, flip it over, duplicate it, and put it in this eye, so they've got both exactly the same eyes. But we won't go into that detail, but you can see the difference. That looks a bit wider, looks a little bit droopy. That looks better. Yeah, so I like that better. Again, Command E, Control E on Windows to merge the layers. Now, next thing, I'm going to do some skin softening. So again, Command J, Command J to duplicate the layer. Always make sure you're duplicating layers and merging. That really helps. Now, what I'm going to do is filter. This is quite a common one as well. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And we want to go at about probably 7 pixels. Now, this is just going to help us with the skin softening. And you'll see why. So that's obviously gone blurry. Now there's a bit of work we need to do to this. Firstly, let's add a layer mask. So Option click on Mac and Alt click on Windows will add a mask and automatically hide the effect that's been made. We can then hit B for the brush tool, bring up the size, and what we do white and black, these are the colors that are going to reveal or hide. So always keep that in mind. White and black reveal or hide. So what we can do is we can start painting. All we're doing is we're painting the effect back in, because the layer mask, as I've mentioned in previous videos, think of it as Zorro, where a mask is just hiding the information, but it's always there. Think of Zorro's mask. He puts the mask on and then he takes it off whenever he needs to, and the information is still there. His face is still there. Yeah, so again, guys, this might look a little bit strange because I'm working with 1.8 and lens blur is, or shallow depth of field in a lens is always going to look better than any kind of post-production blur. So keep that in mind. I'll just do a quick job a little bit around here. We don't want to lose too much detail, but what we will be doing is dropping down the opacity. Let's bring this in here. Dropping down the opacity of the blur, because it is too overpowering. It is at 7 pixels or so, but I found that doing a higher pixel rate and bringing down the opacity is going to help, rather than doing a lower pixel rate. So if that confuses you, don't worry, I'll explain in just a second. So some people tend to do this. They tend to do it 100%, and that's just too much. It looks fake, so we really got to be careful what we're doing, because we don't want to lose any detail in the pixels, because that's going to really cause problems. Certain areas you don't want to go over too much, which are the nose, the tops of the lips, and down the bottom. You don't want to lose too much detail there either, because if you do, then it just looks stupid. Look, let's zoom out 100%. It looks a little bit odd at the moment, and as I was saying before, I'm battling with the previous blur that's been put in from the shallow depth of field, because it was shot at 1.8, and I'm putting in, you know, post-production artificial blur, as you can call it as well. Anyway, let's go a little bit over here, softer brush. Alright. Cool. So, on, off, on, off. You can see the difference straight away. Alright, now what we will be doing is grabbing that image, taking the opacity down so it's just not as much. So let's go like 56%. Yeah, so all that's done is it hasn't erased the detail, but it has softened the pores, because the pores were just, they looked a little bit dense, to be honest. That's it. Make sure you don't go over the eyes. You want the eyes to be sharp. Usually this eye is only blurry solely because it was shot at f1.8. If it was at f16, everything would be perfectly in focus. Yeah, alright, let's move on. That's, as I said, guys, this is going to be a really quick one, but it's gonna get a lot more in depth, so get ready for that. Next thing is the eyes. The eyes, actually, I lied. The next thing, no, I don't lie. The eyes are next, but there's a bit of work we got to do to the eyes. Firstly, it's lightening through doing a screen blending mode, and also adding more color, because they're just not punchy enough. We want them to stand out. So firstly, duplicate the layer, Command J Command J on Mac, Control J on Windows. I'm just getting sick of having to tell Windows everyone should just be on Mac. Sorry guys, anyway, let's go. Okay, so Command J, let's set this to screen mode. Now what that's going to do is automatically brighten everything up too much. Again, Option click, Alt click on Windows, Option click on Mac, add a layer mask. That's going to hide the affected blending mask that you can see here. Let's zoom right in, and we can bring down the brush size. And what we can do is start painting in the effect that's from the layer below. And as you can see, it's going to put a little bit more punch into the eyes, because it's lightening them up. Now we don't want to go too far into the actual retina here. We want to move around it, just really getting it to stand out a touch more, because it's too much. It does make a huge difference. Let's go over to this one, bring this one out here. The good thing about working in a screen mode is you're working with pixels that are already there. Picture if you were doing this with a brush, you're going to brush over the eye and you're going to lose detail. I mean, the pixels are already there. This is just, working in screen modes is really good, because you're keeping detail that's, you know, already there. So you're saving yourself there. If I had a brush mode and I was to paint over this black, you know, the black would be turning into white, so I'd be screwing myself right there. All right, cool. So let's go right out, right out, right out, right out, right out. Now, I want to bring the opacity of this entire thing down because it is too much. Now we can see the difference straight away. Just like that, big difference. What I'm probably going to do is put it up just a little bit more. Zoom back in. There's a little bit of red eye over here. So what I will do is let's go to the dodge tool and we can go to highlights. Sorry, this is on the mask still. Let's go to this layer. Instead, we'll make a new layer, brush, 0% hardness, 30% opacity. Let's go make sure we're painting on white, and let's get this a little bit wider in here because using the screen mode, there's only a certain amount that you can get out of it. It is good because you're using the same pixels, but yeah, you just got to be careful. Let's get that in there, and we'll bring that layer. Actually, that was a pretty flimsy job. Let's do that again. Opacity, see if I pull it right up, it's way too white, so we'll pull it right down just to save ourselves 20%. That's alright, we'll save it like that. Okay. Cool. Alright, let's go. Let's do a little bit more work on the eyes. So let's select all of these, merge them together. Oops, I did the wrong thing there. Select all of them, merge. There we go. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit more punch to the color of the eyes. Now, bear with me, what I'm doing at the moment looks a little bit strange, but it is going to work. So let's say the eyes are kind of an odd shade. They're probably greeny hazel, to be honest. But what we're going to do is we're going to get a green, you know, let's go hue 30, probably about there. We'll go a nice soft brush, increase the size just a little bit. Now again, this does look strange, but bear with me, it's gonna make a difference. And what I want you guys to do is, well, what I think you should be doing is working on the eyes, because the eyes are really what you're drawn to when you're looking at a photograph of a face. You're looking straight towards the eyes. So if you can do a little bit more work on them to get them looking a bit cooler, then you'll probably be going in the right way. Grab the eraser tool just to make it a little bit more realistic, just so there's kind of feather it out from the edges. Now, firstly, okay, that looks pretty ridiculous. Okay, very simple thing. Pull the opacity right down like that. And it looks a little bit strange on the actual pupil because you can see the catch light of the softbox. If you guys aren't aware of what a catch light is, it's pretty much the reflection of any light source in someone's eyes. That's basically what a catch light is, and it gives someone a bit more dimension when there is a catch light, depending on the way it's positioned. This is not initially the best catch light because it's off to the side and it's giving a really quite a cut off to the pupil. Can fix that, but I'm not going to bother at this stage. Yeah, so I'll drop it down a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and there you go. That gives you an idea. So when you zoom right out, look at her left eye compared to the right. You can probably go down even further. Okay, let's have a look. On, off, on, off, on, off. Subtle difference, but it makes a massive difference. Now that we're at that opacity rate, we can come over here and we can start brushing in the other side. Now, because I'm at that opacity rate, it's going to be good to go. Go around like that. I get the eraser tool, feather it out just a touch on the edges and in the center. It just gives it a more realistic look. It gives you more of a kind of like how a gradient works. So there you go. 18%. Drop it down even further. Say 10, 12%. On, off, on, off, on, off. There you go. Makes a difference there. Alright, now what I can do, if I want to adjust that even more, is I can do a levels adjustment. So let's go Command L, Control L on Windows, and we can play with the leveling here. So you can see if I slide it all the way to the left, it's going to go really bright. If I go all the way to the right, it's going to go really dark. I want to adjust it just a little bit. I want it to be a little bit brighter. The levels adjustments works differently to the opacity. It gives it more of a contrasted look. Preview on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. Yeah, so it looks better like that. Alright, now next thing is I probably want the overall, while we're doing that, let's go merge. There we go. As you can see, I'm working with very little layers. Now, this is solely because, firstly, I'm trying to keep time short. I'm merging everything to make sure that I haven't got 1,000 layers here. Just I'm working on one flat thing. But all the adjustments have been made. I've done the skin softening. I've done the eyes. I've done lightening around the edges of the cornea. So, yeah. Next thing I'd probably be doing is, again, duplicating, and let's do some sort of an adjustment. I want to do a saturation adjustment because I personally think she's pretty desatch, but can go a little bit more, to be honest. So let's go. Sorry guys, I've got 3-4 screens here. Where is the saturation? Where did it go? It's hiding in one of these screens here. Here we are. Sorry guys, I'm bringing it across. Photoshop has 1,000 panels. All right. This is a hue and saturation channel, all right? So all the way up, looks ridiculous. Let's go down just a little bit. On, off, on, off, on, off. Yeah, I like that saturation down a little bit further because it's affecting the eyes as well. So it's pulling it to more of a desaturated green. Okay, that's cool. I don't mind that. What do I want to do next? Basically, from here, I'd go ahead and re-look at all the blemishes now that it's got a skin softening mask on. So I'd go ahead and I'd start retouching just a little bit further with the, sorry guys, the spot healing brush. And as I said, there's not a stupid amount of work that I need to do on this image. The lens blur, the really shallow depth of field has made it a bit difficult with the skin softening. As I said, usually if it's shot at f10 to 16, everything's perfectly in focus, and it does make it a lot easier. And look, you know, there's actually not much that I need to do in ways of blemishes. Probably just a little bit here. Just go a touch. Yeah, that looks not too bad. All right, let's go. Next thing I'd be doing is, last thing would be curves adjustment. So let's go down here. We'll add a curves as a layer adjustment, and let's get a little bit darker, just a little bit more punch to it. With curves, what you want to do is I'll increase the size of this just a little bit. Oh, that's stupid. Sorry, I'm in the wrong mode. But with the curves adjustment, what you want to tend to do is get some sort of a little bit of an S formation with the curves. That'll give you a nice mixture of highlights and shadows. So as you can hear, it's gotten more contrast to it. So we'll turn it off and on. Yeah, straight away. It makes it more punchy. It's not too bad like that. It's a little bit flat. That's just more punch to it straight away. All right, cool. Next thing that I do is get all of these layers, Command E. They're all flattened into one thing, and there we go. That's the image done. So minor little things, minor little tweaks, but you can see the huge difference. Let's go to the history, and as we can see here, this is all the history of the things that we've done. So a lot of brushing, a lot of spot healing, all that kind of stuff. That's the original. That's the finished. Do that again. Original. Finished. Z. There you go. Original. Finished. Sorry guys, I just like doing that. Alright, cool. Any guys out there that have any questions about beauty retouching? As I said, this was a pretty difficult image to do skin softening on, but I want you guys to let me know any thoughts you have, any comments, anything like that. Other than that, hit me up with any questions, future requests for tutorials, anything like that. I'm going to do a lot more Final Cut Pro, After Effects, Cinema 4D, all that kind of stuff I'm going to be moving into soon, as well as doing another further in-depth beauty retouching tutorial to do with skin softening mainly, and as well as hair. Hair is also a huge thing that you need to work on. Anyway guys, Phil Lagettie, thanks so much for checking out this video. Hope to talk to you soon. Alright, peace guys, bye.